Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into the world of billionaire investor Bill Ackman.
Okay.
And buckle up, because this one starts with a curveball.
Hmm.
Ackman revealed his newest stock purchase on social media.
Really?
X,
Oh, yeah.
the platform formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
Um,
Not the usual way to do it.
no, not at all.
Not the usual Wall Street playbook.
No.
Typically, investors and analysts, they eagerly await those quarterly 13F filings just to get a glimpse into what these big players are holding.
Right.
So Ackman skipping the formalities and taking to social media definitely suggests he's on to something that's piqued his interest.
Yeah, it's like he just couldn't contain his excitement.
It seems that way.
It's making me really curious
Yeah.
to see what company could warrant such a bold move.
Well, the company in question is Uber Technologies.
Uber?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially since this isn't his first foray with them.
Exactly. Ackman actually invested in Uber years ago when it was still a private company.
Oh, wow.
The fact that he's doubling down now that Uber is public and choosing to hold it within his famously concentrated portfolio speaks volumes about his confidence.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what he sees that maybe the rest of the market is missing.
Uh-huh.
From what I've gathered, Ackman's a big believer in value investing.
Absolutely. His philosophy centers around identifying companies that are trading at a significant discount to what he believes their intrinsic value is.
So he's looking for those hidden gems.
Yeah, the market might be overlooking.
Okay, so how does Uber fit into that approach?
Right.
Is he seeing something that suggests Uber's actually worth way more than its current stock price?
Well, one key piece of evidence is Uber's free cash flow.
Okay.
Over the past 3 years, it's been steadily growing,
Okay.
which is a really positive sign.
Right.
It means the company is generating more cash than it needs to operate and invest.
Right.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Despite this positive cash flow trend,
Uh-huh.
Uber's valuation multiples, like its price-to-earnings ratio and price-to-free cash flow ratio,
Yeah.
have actually compressed.
So wait, even though Uber is generating more cash, its valuation in relation to that cash flow is actually going down.
Yeah.
That seems counterintuitive.
It does, and that's precisely why Ackman sees an opportunity.
Okay.
Normally, you'd expect a company's valuation to increase as its profitability improves.
Right.
The fact that this isn't happening with Uber suggests that something else is at play.
Okay.
Something that's causing the market to hesitate.
And I'm guessing that something has to do with the whole autonomous driving situation.
You got it.
Okay.
The uncertainty surrounding the future of autonomous driving is creating a lot of apprehension among investors.
Yeah, I could see why that would be a concern.
Uh,
If self-driving cars become the norm, what does that mean for a company built around human drivers?
That's the big question, and there are definitely two sides to the coin.
Right.
On one hand, you have those who see self-driving cars as a potential gold mine for Uber. Imagine the cost savings if they could replace human drivers with a fleet of autonomous vehicles
Right.
that could translate into significantly higher profits.
Yeah.
But then you have those who worry that companies like Alphabet, with its Waymo project,
Right.
or Tesla, with its robotaxi ambitions, could become major competitors and potentially even disrupt Uber's entire business model.
So it's this push and pull
Yeah.
between potential benefits and looming threats.
Right.
That's making investors a little wary, even if Uber's current financials look promising.
Exactly. And it's interesting to see how Ackman is navigating this uncertainty.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem fazed by the market's apprehension.
Really?
In fact, he views this dip as a prime buying opportunity.
Hmm.
He's essentially betting that the market is overreacting to the autonomous driving question and undervaluing Uber's core business.
It's a bold move, that's for sure.
It is.
But Ackman has a reputation for making these sorts of contrarian bets, and they haven't always worked out in his favor, have they?
Well, he's definitely had his share of wins and losses, but that's the nature of investing, especially when you're dealing with disruptive technologies and evolving markets. It's all about weighing the risks and potential rewards.
Right.
And in Ackman's view, the potential rewards in Uber seem to outweigh the risks.
So he's not just banking on Uber figuring out the autonomous driving game.
Right.
He believes in the strength of their current business model, even without factoring in self-driving cars.
Exactly. He sees Uber's global reach and dominant market position as major assets.
Okay.
And he's willing to bet that these advantages will continue to drive growth and profitability regardless of how the autonomous driving landscape unfolds.
This is shaping up to be a really compelling case study.
Yeah.
It's making me think about Uber in a whole new light.
That's what's so great about exploring these investment decisions.
Uh-huh.
It forces us to look beyond the headlines and delve into the underlying factors that are driving market sentiment.
Right.
And in this case, it seems like there's a lot more to the Uber story than just the self-driving car narrative.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we've established Ackman sees a lot of value in Uber's current business model.
Uh-huh.
But I'm curious,
Yeah.
what specifically makes him so bullish on their long-term prospects?
Well, one of the hallmarks of Ackman's investment approach is his emphasis on strong management teams.
Oh, interesting.
He believes that a company's leadership plays a crucial role in its success.
Right.
And in Uber's case, he seems to have a lot of faith in their CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi.
I hadn't even thought about that. So
Yeah.
it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people at the helm.
Absolutely. Ackman often talks about investing in compounding machines.
Okay.
Companies with strong leadership, a clear vision, and the ability to execute effectively.
Right.
And he sees Uber as fitting that mold.
So even if the autonomous driving landscape remains uncertain,
Right.
he's confident that Uber's management team can navigate those challenges and capitalize on whatever opportunities arise.
Precisely. And that's where Ackman's long-term perspective comes into play.
Okay.
He's not just looking at the next quarter or even the next year.
Right.
He's thinking about where Uber will be 5, 10, even 20 years down the line.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the short-term noise of the market,
Yeah.
but it seems like Ackman's taking a more patient, calculated approach.
He's playing the long game, and that's often how value investors find success.
Okay.
They're willing to wait for the market to catch up to a company's true worth,
Uh-huh.
even if it takes years.
Speaking of waiting, I know Ackman's known for holding on to his investments for a long time.
Yeah.
Is that something he's explicitly mentioned in relation to Uber?
Yes, actually, he's indicated that he views this as a long-term investment, not a quick flip.
Okay.
This reinforces his conviction in Uber's fundamentals
Yeah.
and his belief that the market is currently undervaluing its potential.
Okay, so we've got strong financials,
Uh-huh.
a management team that Ackman believes in,
Right.
and a long-term investment horizon.
Yeah.
What other factors might be contributing to his bullishness on Uber?
Well, there's also the fact that Uber has been actively expanding beyond its core ride-hailing business.
Right.
They've made significant investments in areas like food delivery with Uber Eats
Uh-huh.
and freight transportation with Uber Freight.
Right. I've definitely noticed that they're not just about getting you from point A to point B anymore.
Yeah.
They're trying to become a one-stop shop for all sorts of transportation and delivery needs.
Exactly. And Ackman sees this diversification as a key strength.
Okay.
It reduces Uber's reliance on any single market segment
Right.
and positions them to capitalize on multiple growth opportunities.
That makes sense. So it's not just about ride-hailing.
Right.
It's about becoming a multifaceted platform that's integrated into various aspects of our lives.
And that broader vision is what Ackman finds so compelling. He's not just betting on a ride-hailing company.
Okay.
He's betting on a company that's transforming the way we move people, goods, and even food around the world.
It's almost like he's investing in the future of mobility itself.
That's a great way to put it. Ackman's not just looking at what Uber is today.
Right.
He's looking at what it could become.
Okay, this is all starting to make a lot more sense now.
Uh-huh.
But let's not forget that there are still risks involved, right?
Oh, of course.
The autonomous driving question isn't going away anytime soon.
Right.
And Uber faces stiff competition from companies like Lyft.
You're absolutely right. Investing always involves a degree of risk, and Uber is no exception.
Okay.
However, Ackman seems to be comfortable with those risks because he believes that Uber's strengths outweigh its weaknesses.
I'm curious, how does he view the competitive landscape?
Right.
Is he concerned about Lyft or other ride-hailing companies eating into Uber's market share?
Well, Ackman acknowledges the competitive pressures, but he sees Uber as having a significant advantage
Okay.
in terms of scale, brand recognition, and technological innovation.
So it's not just about being the first mover in the ride-hailing space.
Right.
It's about constantly evolving, adapting to the market, and staying ahead of the competition.
Exactly, and Uber has shown a willingness to do that.
Okay.
Whether it's through strategic acquisitions, new product offerings, or partnerships with other companies.
That's a really good point. They're not standing still.
Yeah.
They're actively seeking out ways to grow and expand their reach.
And that proactive approach is something that aligns well with Ackman's investment philosophy.
Uh-huh.
He prefers to invest in companies that are forward-thinking and constantly striving to improve.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about Ackman's belief in Uber's management team,
Uh-huh.
their diversification efforts,
Right.
their competitive edge,
Yeah.
and his long-term investment horizon.
Right.
But there's one piece of the puzzle that we haven't really touched on yet,
Okay.
the regulatory landscape.
You're right. That's a crucial aspect of Uber's story, and it's something that could significantly impact their future success.
I'm thinking about all the challenges Uber has faced in the past with labor laws worker classification, and government regulations.
Yeah.
Are those concerns still relevant in Ackman's view?
They definitely are. The regulatory landscape for companies like Uber is constantly evolving.
Okay.
And there's always the potential for new laws or regulations to be implemented that could affect their business model.
Right. And that uncertainty can make investors nervous, right?
They can.
I mean, who wants to invest in a company that might suddenly face a major legal hurdle?
It's a legitimate concern. However, Ackman seems to believe that Uber has the resources
Okay.
and the legal expertise to navigate those challenges effectively.
So he's not ignoring the regulatory risks,
No.
but he's also not letting them deter him from making this investment.
Exactly. He's factoring those risks into his overall assessment of Uber's potential.
Right.
And he's betting that the company will be able to adapt and thrive even in a changing regulatory environment.
It's interesting to see how he's weighing all these different factors.
Yeah.
The financials, the management team, the competition, the regulatory landscape,
Right.
and his own long-term investment horizon.
It's a complex equation, and there's no guarantee that he's made the right call.
Right.
But that's what makes investing so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's about analyzing the available information, making educated guesses, and ultimately placing your bets.
And sometimes those bets pay off in a big way.
They do.
Other times they don't.
Right.
But the journey is always insightful.
Absolutely. And in this case, Ackman's bet on Uber is forcing us to think critically about the future of transportation, the role of technology in our lives, and the evolving nature of the business world.
It's a reminder that the investing world is more than just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Right.
It's about understanding trends, anticipating disruptions,
Yeah.
and identifying companies that are shaping the future.
And sometimes it's about taking a leap of faith and betting on a company that you believe in,
Right.
even if the market isn't quite convinced yet.
That's a great point. So even though Ackman's move might seem surprising at first glance, when you delve into his reasoning, it starts to make a lot more sense.
It's all about connecting the dots and understanding the bigger picture.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm even more intrigued by this whole Uber situation now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why Ackman is so excited about it.
It's definitely a compelling case study, and it raises a lot of interesting questions about the future of the ride-hailing industry, the impact of autonomous driving technology, and the evolving strategies of companies like Uber.
It's making me think about things in a whole new way.
That's the power of deep dives like this.
Right.
They challenge our assumptions, expand our knowledge, and encourage us to think more critically about the world around us.
And that brings us to the heart of why we do this deep dive.
Right.
We want to go beyond the surface, dissect the information, and help you make sense of complex topics.
It's about empowering you to form your own opinions, make informed decisions, and maybe even spot those hidden gems in the market that everyone else is overlooking.
Now, before we get too carried away of our own analysis, let's remember that Ackman's bet on Uber is just one perspective.
It's important to consider other viewpoints, analyze the available data, and ultimately form your own conclusions.
That's right. We're not here to tell you what to think.
No.
We're here to give you the tools and insights you need to think for yourself.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I encourage you to reflect on everything we've discussed so far.
Okay?
What resonates with you? What questions do you still have?
Right.
And most importantly, how does this new information inform your own understanding of Uber, the ride-hailing industry, and the investing world in general?
You know, it's funny, before we started this deep dive,
Yeah.
I hadn't given much thought to Uber beyond occasionally using their app to catch a ride.
Right.
But now I'm seeing it as this complex puzzle.
It is a lot more than meets the eye.
Yeah, with so many different pieces.
Uber often serves as a microcosm of larger trends,
Okay.
touching upon everything from the gig economy and labor rights to technological disruption and global competition.
And I think that's what makes Ackman's investment so fascinating.
Right.
It's not just about betting on a company.
Yeah.
It's about betting on a whole set of ideas about how the world is changing.
Right, and some of those ideas are bound to be controversial.
Yeah, for sure.
For instance, Uber's reliance on gig workers has raised questions about worker classification and benefits. It's a societal debate that's far from settled.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Yes.
It's easy to get caught up in the financial side of things.
Right.
But we can't ignore the social and ethical implications
No, you can't.
of a company like Uber.
Absolutely, and those considerations often factor into Ackman's investment decisions as well.
Oh, interesting.
He's known for taking an activist approach,
Okay.
engaging with companies to encourage practices that align with his values.
So it's not just about making money.
No.
It's about using his influence to shape the way companies operate.
Precisely, and that adds another layer of complexity to his Uber investment.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if he leverages his position to push for specific changes within the company.
It's almost like he's not just an investor. He's a participant in the unfunding story of Uber.
That's a great way to put it, and As with any good story, there are still plenty of chapters left to be written.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
let's step back and consider the broader takeaways.
Ackman's surprise Uber buy is a masterclass in contrarian thinking, showcasing how a seasoned investor can find opportunities where others see uncertainty.
Right.
It's also a reminder that investing is as much about understanding people trends and the broader context as it is about crunching numbers.
And perhaps the most important takeaway is this.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to challenge conventional wisdom. Just because the market is undervaluing something
Right.
doesn't mean it's not worth a second look.
Do your own research.
Right.
Form your own opinions.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll uncover the next hidden gem.
Okay.
After all, that's what makes the world of investing so exciting.
And who knows, maybe you'll even end up going head-to-head with Bill Ackman someday.
That would certainly make for an interesting deep dive.
It sure would. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bill Ackman and his intriguing bet on Uber.
We hope you've enjoyed the ride.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.